How you doing? My name is ZDesmarais, and this is my data overview for McEachern High School, specifically for the math department, discussing the ninth and 10th grades, Algebra 1 and Geometry in, of course, tests, as well as the population and demographics of the school. The purpose of the data overview, we'll be reviewing the enrollment and the demographic changes in the high school over the past or over the last 5 years. We're also going to review the Algebra 1 EOC results, as well as reviewing the geometry EOC results and comparing and contrasting those from the school to the county and to the state. And we're going to discuss possible solutions for student achievement and growth, discussing things like SMART goals and putting together a plan of action. Questions to consider: which strands are strengths that could be improved? How does the EOC scores compare from year to year? And how does McEachern High School compare to the district and state data? First, we're looking at the student enrollment for the district. As you can see, looking back at 2013, we had over 108,000 students inside the district, and as the years kind of progressed there, we went up to 109 or over 109,000. Then we jumped in 2015 to 111,000, and then we went to 112,355, and then we saw a small jump from 2016 to 2017 to 112,831. So as you can tell, the student enrollment has gone up year by year consistently. Now the student enrollment, this is for just McEachern High School. This is for the 9th and 10th graders from 2013 to 2017. The 9th graders are labeled in yellow, while the 10th graders are labeled in blue. And as you can see, there's an interesting trend that goes on here between the 9th graders and the 10th graders. You're starting to see them kind of start evening out as the years kind of progress. You start out in 2013 with 738 freshmen and 522 10th graders, so you see that a lot of students are leaving the school. But then as the years kind of progress, you see that 738 jump all the way down to 678 in 2017, and that 522 jump all the way up to 633. So you're starting to see a trend of students sticking around at McEachern High School instead of leaving to go to other schools or competing schools around the area. The student enrollment by females. This is an interesting look at some data here where you see that in 9th grade for females we had 348 back in 2013. That's what the 1 means down there. That is a representation of 2013, and every one of those numbers just kind of increases by year until you get to 2017, where that number of 348 jumps to 380. Then you look at 10th graders, which goes from 257 all the way up to 298. So the female population is rising throughout these years, while the male population is slightly declining from 2013 to 2017. As you can see, in 9th grade, the number of male students was 390, but jumped all the way down to 333. And then, as you can see, in 10th grade, it was 265, and then by 2017, it got all the way up to 300 students. And you can see an upward trend kind of go all the way till 2016 for the 10th graders, and then kind of decline there in the end. But as you can see, we're getting more kids to stick around as they stay longer, which is going to be interesting when we start looking at the data and some conclusions that we can make. The ethnicity at McEachern High School just in 2016 and 2017, as you can see, 69% of the school is black. 10 10% of the school are white. Then we have 3% are 2 or more races. We also have a high Hispanic rate, a high Hispanic percentage of 16%. Then Asian Americans represent 1%, while just the Asian community represent 1%. And Pacific Islanders, there is, I think, one student in the entire school of McEachern High School. So if you look at the grand scheme of things there, it's really almost like a 0% for that ethnicity. This is also very interesting. The average percentage of daily attendance at McEachern from 2013 to 2017. In 2013, you see the average attendance was 95%, and as you see an upward trend here, as you get 2014 of 95.3, 2015 of 96, 2016 of 96.3, and then just kind of keeping that pace in 2017 with a 96.3% daily attendance rate. And that becomes a big issue and a big deal in the grand scheme of things when you have students actually showing up to school and being in the classroom and making sure they're getting the best instruction instead of being at home and missing those days. Next, we're going to talk about the Georgia EOC and kind of what that means. There are 4 levels of learners, and you'll see here level 1 learners are beginning learners. These are usually the students that are not passing the EOC. If they're inside this range of level 1, that's usually considered to be they're failing the EOC. Level 2 is a developing learner. It means they're getting there. They're not where they should be, but they're definitely developing, and that is considered passing. And in this case, level 3 are proficient learners, which means they get it, they understand what's going on, they have a higher level of learning. And then level 4 are the distinguished learners. Those are our top tier students who are performing extremely well on the EOC. And this is the coordinate algebra or algebra 1 and the geometry side of the EOC. As you look here, we'll look back at 2013, 2014 data for the Algebra 1 EOC. This is the achievement list. As here, we're looking at comparing McEachern High School to Cobb County. So as you can see, McEachern had an 80% in level 1 learners, while the county was averaging a 56%. And then as you can see, McEachern kind of went down in level 2 because obviously there's only 20% left to work with. And for level 2, McEachern was at 19%, while the county was at 36%. And then you get to level 3, it was 8% compared to McEachern being at 1%. And I have to make a statement here: 2013-2014 was the last year they used a 3-level system. As you can see, I jump all the way up to 2015-2016, which was last year's information. And this is where the 4-level tier started to be implemented. And here you can see I have a graph demonstrating the difference between McEachern, Cobb County, and Georgia, and some things to kind of highlight here. As you can see, our level 1 learners are definitely inside the range of Georgia and Cobb County, but our level 2 learners are extremely high, which means that there's going to be a hard decrease in our level 3 and proficient learners, which you see that we are definitely on the decline when it comes to level 3 and level 4 learners. But if you think back to the last slide, we definitely increased when it comes to level 3 learners and level 2 learners as well. Our level 1 learners we still are very concerned about, and we'll discuss some possibilities for them. This is the 2013-2014 geometry EOC achievement list. Again, this is comparing McEachern High School to Cobb County. As you can tell, McEachern is still behind when it comes to the county-wide standards. McEachern was at 71% for that level 1 compared to Cobb County, which was at 47%, and then McEachern jumped down to 28% compared to the county level of 40%, and then only 2% for that level 3 compared to the county being 13%. And again, this was back when they had a 3-level system, but we start to see an increase in the EOC scores when we jump to 2015, 2016, and we look at the geometry EOC achievement list. Again, something to look at. McEachern High School is extremely high in the level 2, but also a bad thing here is we're extremely high in the level 1. We want to the big deal here is we want to make sure we see our kids in that level 3, level 4 range. If we can get them to that level 2, that's great. That means there's some slight instructional strategies that we can use to hopefully move them to level 3. But level 1s are definitely more of a struggle, where we'd have to do a lot more remediation with those students. And as you can tell, we're just a little behind when it comes to the rest of the county and state when it comes to level 3 and level 4 learners. And that's when you see again a high jump in the student and the achievement. Level 2, again, we have those level 2 learners, but it's again transitioning them from level 2 to level 3 is going to be where our focus needs to be. Now, some strengths that I saw here I'd like to point out is our EOC scores from freshman to sophomore year. They grew. You look at our Algebra 1 scores and our geometry scores. The freshmen coming in and going to sophomore year, they improved their scores overall. If you look at the EOC scores from year to year, they actually increase. As you saw from 2013-14 to 2015-16, we actually did increase in our EOC scores. Our attendance is a big deal. Jumping in attendance, obviously, I think that leads to jumping in EOC scores because of the students being in the school. An interesting thing here I like to bring up is the teacher's ability to handle more students. We had a jump in the amount of students at the school over the past 5 years, and the teachers were able to handle it. We were not able to get new teachers to come in, but we had to increase the class sizes, which meant that teachers had to use more, better strategies for the students so they were able to get to them. One thing I like to commend is also the middle school preparation. I know I didn't bring up any data on that, but there's definitely they're definitely doing the right thing down there in the middle school to prepare them for Algebra 1, especially in the prior years. And as they get to Algebra 1, then they start to see again, they start to get used to the standardized testing of something like an EOC counting as much as it does compared to an EOG. And then also the increase in female population in the older students. Again, I think as students start to get older, they start to mature, which means they start to get a little more serious about their grades. So as you can see from as students stick around, like I stated before, they're going to mature and they're going to care more about their grades. And also the female population, again, females tend to mature at a higher rate, which means that they will essentially be a little more focused on their studies. Some weaknesses that need to be addressed are certain specific content in Algebra 1 geometry, certain material that needs to be looked at so that we can get our level 2 learners to level 3 learners. The amount of students in level 1 is definitely a weakness for McEachern, and the distribution of students between levels 2, 3, and 4. As you saw, there's a high level of 2, and again it kind of jumps down on level 3, and our distinguished learners in level 4 is very low. So we want to make sure we're looking to increase that. That's definitely a weakness at McEachern. Some discussion questions. What instructional strategies have we been using to see these increases in EOC scores? What are some current practices that we are not working or that are not working in effectively preparing the students for the EOC? How can the math department effectively use local assessment data to determine the student's progress throughout the year and provide ongoing support? And finally, the next step. What is the next step for McEachern? Well, I think we need to review the data overview. We need to compile a list of responses to the discussion questions. From there, we need to create SMART goals based on the data from specific content areas in Algebra 1 and geometry units, so that we can start moving those level 2 learners to level 3 and level 4, and then looking to remediate the level 1 learners so we can bring them up to level 2. And in the end, we need to determine a timeline for evaluation and progress and monitoring progress.